Welcome children. Today we will continue with the third chapter of geography on drainage for standard 9th, and this is the fourth part of my video. With this video we will complete the lesson. Today we are going to learn about the lakes of India. Now what is a lake? It is a beautiful area filled with water. Now India has many lakes. Most of the lakes are permanent, whereas some contain water only during the rainy season, and some are result of the action of glaciers or ice sheets. Some are formed by wind or river or by human activities. Now lakes can be classified into two types: freshwater lake or saltwater lake. Freshwater lake or saltwater lake. Now all saltwater lake are natural lakes, and freshwater lakes can either be natural or man-made. Now under natural they could be formed due to glaciers, due to tectonic activities, craters or oxbow lake, and man-made the dams that we build, the reservoirs and embankments are made by man. So these can be freshwater lakes. There are two types of freshwater lakes, natural and man-made, and saltwater lake is natural lakes. Now this map clearly shows you the different kinds of lakes that we have in our country. They are well plotted. So first let us look into the saltwater lake, which are marked in red dots. So Orissa we have Chilika, then Pulicat, Kerala Vembanad, then we have Maharashtra Lonar, then Rajasthan Panchpadra and Sambar, and in Ladakh we have Pangong So. Okay, so now let's go to the man-made lake, which is in a blue square, and they are normally formed where dams are constructed due to reservoirs and embankments. So top we see Gobind Sagar, then Debar, then Sardar Sarovar, Indra Sagar, Bhojtal Lake, Nath Sagar, Shivaji Sagar, Nagarjun Sagar. So these are all man-made or artificial lakes. Let us see the natural lakes, which are in blue circle. Okay, so in northeast you can see Loktak, then Koleru, okay, and up in Jammu and Kashmir we have Vular, that is formed due to tectonic activities, and Dal Lake due to the melting of glaciers. Okay, and then at last we have oxbow lakes, which are formed due to meandering of the river. So in Kerala we have Venthala. This is the biggest oxbow lake in South India, and in Bihar we have Kanwar. So these are the various lakes that are there in our country. Now this is a chart which shows you the names of the lakes and the state to which they belong. So this is just for your revision practice, that you can always look into it. Chilika Lake Odisha, Koleru is Andhra Pradesh, Loktak is Manipur, Lonar Lake is Maharashtra, Pangong Lake is Ladakh, Pulicat Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, Sambar Lake is in Rajasthan, Vembanad Lake in Kerala, Vulnar and Dal Lake in Jammu and Kashmir, Toso Morini Lake is also in Jammu and Kashmir, which is not plotted on the map. Now children, let us see the importance of lakes and how they are of great value to human beings. So you can see the first point: they regulate the flow of a river, and during heavy rainfall what happens, it prevents flooding, and during the dry season it helps to maintain an even flow of water. So when there is heavy rain, these lakes take in all the water. Now lakes also can be used for developing hydroelectricity power. Then they moderate the climate all around. When there is a lake, the environment is cooler. They maintain an aquatic ecosystem and enhance natural beauty, and also help to develop tourism and provide recreation. So these 5 points are there of the importance of lakes and how they are great value to human beings. Now let us see what is the role of a river in the economy of a country. Okay, so first we see that water from the rivers is a basic natural resource, and which is essential for various human activities. What do we use water for? Bathing, washing, industry, everywhere we require water. And therefore the river banks have attracted settlers from ancient times. So if you see old cities that have been made, they all started forming on near a river. Okay, so you see many of our old cities, Banaras, they all started building near a river. Now, using rivers for irrigation, navigation, hydro power generation is of great importance to our country and brings about money to the country, and particularly to India, where agriculture is a major source of livelihood for the majority of its population. So we require rivers for water because agriculture is our main occupation. Okay, and then we require for navigation, my hydroelectric power generation. So all this is required and they generate a lot of revenue for the country. Now children, our major concern is river pollution. You see, we have just learned about the significance and importance of a river in a life of a human being. Okay, and due to the growing domestic, municipal, industrial and agricultural demand, what is happening, it is affecting the quality of water. We are using more and more water is drained out of the rivers, and that is why the rivers have less water in them now. We are using more than required. And then on the other hand, we see many industries, they are emptying out all the effluents into the river without being treated. So this is affecting the quality of water, and the river has a capacity to self clean. It can clean on its own, but because we are emptying out so much of waste into the river, that the river is losing its capacity to self clean on its own. And then we see, due to the rising urbanization, that means more and more housing and cities are growing, we see industries coming up, so this is increasing the pollution of the rivers many folds, and the pollution is rising and rising. So if we do not take care of our rivers will die soon. So what are we going to do about it? Yes, the government has taken up a plan. Let us look into it. Now, the government of India had initiated a plan called the National River Conservation Plan in 1985 by cleaning up of Ganga, and then it was closed in 2000 again, and then now again we have started the phase 2 of the National River Conservation Plan, and it is now really working. There are lots of schemes coming up and a lot of action plans have been taken up to clean up the rivers, and stop it from being polluted. Okay, and so this plan is going to work, and this is how we can to a certain extent save our rivers. Now children, let us look into the types of drainage pattern. It is given in your textbooks in a particular box. Okay, so what is a drainage pattern? The pattern in which the river flows. How does the river flow? What are the types the river flows? Let us see. And what are the factors on the drainage pattern? It depends on the slope of the land. It depends on the rocks which are lying underneath the river, and it also depends on the climatic conditions. So according to this, we will see the 4 patterns in which the river flows. Now the first pattern is the dendritic pattern. Okay, now what happens in the dendritic? It's like Ganga. It's like the branches of a tree. It resembles like a branch of a tree. It flows where the river flows down the slope from the terrain, and the tributaries join it, and so it looks like the branches of a tree, and that is why it is called a dendritic pattern. Okay, so this is one kind of drainage pattern, and you see river Ganga flows in this pattern. Now the next drainage pattern is trellis. Now what is trellis? A main river which is joined by its tributaries at approximately right angles. Now when does this happen? Whenever there is a hard and soft rock which exist parallel to each other. Just look at this diagram. You can see the red line that I've drawn is hard rock and the green one is soft rock. So you can see when the tributaries which run parallel and want to join the main river, and there is a soft rock, it cuts to the soft rock normally at right angle, and then it flows ahead, flows down because of the slope, it's flowing down. Again C meets the soft rock and cuts the rock, so it joins the main river at almost right angles. So this is a pattern which is called as trellis pattern. Now the third type of drainage is rectangular. Now when does it take place? When the rocks are strongly joined. Okay, when the rock is strongly joined, it doesn't allow the river to erode it. This is, you can see here in this diagram, they are hard rocks, so the river flows in a rectangular shape. Okay, so this is called a rectangular drainage pattern. Okay, strong rock cannot erode it, so it just flows in a direction of the rock. So it is in a rectangular pattern, which is called as a rectangular drainage pattern. And the last type of drainage pattern is the radial pattern. Okay, like we have seen for the water divide, whenever there is an highland or a mountain, you can see here the river flows in different direction from the central peak or dome. You can see here it's flowing in all directions. So this kind of flow is drainage is called as radial pattern. So children, with this we come to an end of the chapter on drainage. I hope you have understood the chapter well. Please do view and subscribe and wait for my next video. Thank you.